You all know Megatron is usually the main villain of the entire Transformers franchise, some stints as a good guy notwithstanding. While his competence in the original Generation 1 cartoon is a product of 1980s writing, he was still the guy who had the Autobots on the verge of defeat, with only Optimus Prime keeping him from absolute victory. But as we largely moved past the ineffectual villain trope in the 90s, it was time for Megatron to grow in terms of competence and scale, and other series managed to do this well. Of course, Megatron was going to feature heavily into the live-action film series. Was he going to firmly take his place as the big bad of the franchise? Well, not exactly. To get the bits of the backstory, you had to check out some comics. It establishes here that Optimus and Megatron were brothers. Both ruled Cybertron. While Megatron was firm, Optimus was fair, and thus the two balanced each other out. But eventually Megatron sought the Allspark, and Optimus sent it off planet to keep it away from his fallen brother. Megatron chased after it, and ended up crashing on Earth in the Arctic and got frozen for it. So he spends most of the first film on ice, only waking up at the end of the movie. He does show to be a pretty decent threat, as he rips Jazz in half and is able to get the upper hand on Optimus, only dying because Sam puts the Allspark in his chest, which is a little weird, but we gotta end the movie. Of course, he returns in Revenge of the Fallen. Basically, the Decepticons use the Allspark shard to bring him back to life. So that thing that killed him in the first movie now brings him back to life. Tricky thing, this Allspark. He does have the usual relationship with Starscream, but there's one line that's really funny and contradicted moments later.
So disappointing. Even in death, there is no command but mine. My master, I failed you on Earth. The Allspark is destroyed.
Yeah, this is a big retcon since we didn't have any indication the Fallen existed in the previous movie. Megatron says, hey, there's no command but mine, except this guy who he willingly bows to. What did he say in the animated movie?
I belong to nobody!
But here he willingly bows to another. Not a good look here. Maybe he's biding his time and waiting for the right opportunity to stab the Fallen in the back. He does get to kill Optimus, albeit when Optimus is distracted and has his back turned. After that, yeah, Megatron comes off really weak, getting blasted back by tanks. Then Optimus blasts half of his face off, and Megatron is horrified to see the Fallen die. But apparently this wasn't always the case. In the original script, Megatron was only serving the Fallen under the pretense of being made a Prime. But when Optimus tells Megatron that Primes are born and not made, Megatron is so angered that he refuses to aid the Fallen and returns to the Nemesis to raise a new army. This is still used in the Decepticon campaign of the video game.
Claim your reward. You shall be made a prime. Primes are born, not made, Megatron. You were betrayed.
Why this didn't make it into the final film is unknown. So Revenge of the Fallen wasn't a good showing for Megatron, but maybe Dark of the Moon will return him to glory. But we're not off to a good start, as our introduction to Megatron has him hiding in Africa, and he hasn't gotten his face repaired for some reason. For most of the movie, he sits out and just lets Sentinel do most of the heavy lifting. Apparently he made some deal with Sentinel and they were going to rendezvous on Earth, which doesn't make any sense since he was supposed to be chasing the Allspark then. Did no one check for continuity slip-ups in these movies? Now Megatron is all about restoring Cybertron, even though he seemed to have no problem leaving it to die all those millions of years ago. So what's consistent character motivation here? Eventually not Michaela, because this character was clearly meant to be her, convinces Megatron to join the battle. So Megatron gets up and then wounds Sentinel, and then promptly gets killed by Optimus. In Age of Extinction, Megatron reappears but has been revived by the KSI, and they used his body to make drones. But Megatron finally gets to do his own manipulating. He's able to use the Galvatron body to create himself a new body, which is not unlike what he did in the Transformers animated TV show. But Galvatron is once again quickly overshadowed by another new villain, Lockdown. Granted, he achieved his main purpose, which is his rebirth, and his plans were just delayed a little bit, but all in all, it was a better showing. Not perfect, but better than the last two movies. But all goes south in the last night. He's back to being called Megatron again. I guess he didn't feel like going by the name the lowly humans gave him. But like Optimus Prime, Megatron has fallen under the mind control of Quintessa, who they never gave an explanation for. But Megatron spends most of the movie just doing Quintessa's bidding. At the end, we probably get the most insight we've ever gotten into Optimus and Megatron's backstory.
We were brothers once. Once.
Yeah, that's it. That's all we get on that. Then he gets thrown out of the airship and falls and is never seen again in this continuity. Curiously, he's absent from Bumblebee, which is because they were on the fence on whether or not this was a prequel to the 2007 Bay film. Travis Knight described a scene where Megatron showed up on the battlefield and basically went all Sauron on the Autobots, which would have been pretty badass. Or there was a post-credits tease that had him on ice, albeit looking more like his Generation 1 self, and it looks like he won't be in Rise of the Beast, which begs the question of just where Megatron is in this slightly rebooted universe, but that's a subject for another time, and maybe it'll be answered in the next movie if Rise of the Beast does well at the box office. So in summation, what went wrong with Megatron? Well, he's supposed to be the villain of Transformers. Now, granted, he has been eclipsed by other threats, such as whenever Unicron shows up, but in the Bay films, his showing is pretty lackluster overall. In the first film, he does fairly well, only being defeated by a weird little Deus Ex Machina. In Revenge of the Fallen, he gets a pretty poor showing as a fighter, being easily dominated by Optimus Prime, and at one point is scared off by military tanks. And he starts his tendency of letting another villain overshadow him, in this case it's the Fallen. Had they kept the original ending, where he refused to aid the Fallen, then he would have had a better showing, but they didn't for whatever reason. In Dark of the Moon, he now cares about Cybertron being safe, even though he didn't seem to really care about that before. But what's a change in motivations in these movies? Then he accidentally rescues Optimus and is killed by him, thus not a good showing for him in this movie either. In Age of Extinction, he just does stuff and leaves. And the last night, he is once again a patsy for somebody else. But what is Megatron's motivations in these movies? Does he want power at all costs? Or does he want to actually save Cybertron because it seems like he flip-flops between these two at will? Optimus and Megatron are supposed to be pretty equal in battle, but in these movies it's pretty one-sided most of the time. What's the right call for Megatron?
I belong to nobody!
Yeah, that's it, right there. Hopefully we can see Megatron done proper justice in this new film series sooner rather than later.
Finish this planet. We are done here.
Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please hit that bell, like, and subscribe button. If you want updates, join my Discord or check out my Patreon, which is provided in the description below. See you next time.